So now, ladies and gentlemen, it's every single season, right? Where we find a previous rookie going into year two for this Buffalo Bills team that absolutely explodes, right? A comeback season, if you will, right? A second year jump. And I could just go and name player after player after player. I think it was Khalil Shakir, his second season. Then certainly was Terrell Bernard. Then was Christian Benford. It's just players that we draft in the previous year's drafts that always end up stepping up to the occasion, right? And I think when it comes into some of the players that I think are potentially on schedule for a breakout year, I think Keon Coleman had to be one of the most popular names thrown around since the Buffalo Bills have had OTAs. I don't think anybody has not seen this comparison photo that just ended up dropping right on X. But as you can see, the comparison and the difference between Keon Coleman, his rookie year going into his second year, absolutely bonkers, right? Many are saying that it's well over 10 pounds of muscle, right? He's looking faster. He's getting in and out of his breaks a lot faster and mentally smarter, right? Per reports going into it. So, what do we have to assume from Keon Coleman, right? And I think we need to go back and just really take a deep dive into his rookie season because us drafting Keon 2 years ago probably had to be one of the most polarizing picks in quite some time, right? Because many were upset that we ended up passing on Xavier Worthy. Like many people were upset that he was not a true wide receiver number one. He was slow. He was only a contested catch guy. But I got to tell you something that has been frustrating me for a while. All of the people that come out and say, oh my God, it could have been Xavier Worthy, right? Like we could have got Xavier Worthy. The stat comparisons between the two players are so close. It drives me bananas when people think that there is some massive gap in between the two. I was able to pull up stat comparisons to Xavier Worthy and Keon Coleman from last year, and something I think you guys are probably going to find pretty interesting. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up real fast. And I'm hoping that several of your minds will be blown here, right? But when you look at it, scrolling on down, right? This is what we need to look at, right? Xavier Worthy had 59 receptions in total, right? Several more targets, 98 compared to, of course, with Keon's 57, right? He Xavier Worthy had 638 yards and Keon Coleman had 556. His yards per reception for Xavier Worthy was 10.8. And then Keon Coleman's yards per reception was at around 19.2. So what does this tell us based off of these two metrics? Number one, with the yards per reception, this tells us, right, that Xavier Worthy was more of a short yak type wide receiver. He was a guy that had a lot of receptions behind the line of scrimmage, 2 to 3 yards out, while Keon Coleman was more so a deep target or a contested catch guy going into it. Second up with yards, 638 versus 556. Keon Coleman only played 13 games last year, right? He missed 4. And then once he ended up coming back, this Buffalo Bills offense made a transition. They didn't want to revert back to their offense where he saw a lot of targets going into it because what was working was working. But if you end up calculating 13 games that Keon Coleman ultimately ended up playing and the 556 that he collected, that was an average 42 yards per game. So, and obviously this is not factual, but you can at least make an educated assumption. And by that educated assumption, he averaged about 42 yards per game. If, for example, that he were to play a full season, right, those 5 more games, right, that went into it, then on paper, he would have been around the 750 mark, well into the 700s, beating out this wide receiver. I'm not sitting here saying that Keon Coleman is better than Xavier Worthy. I'm not saying that, like people that are upset about that are not justified. I think it just really upsets me when people act like there is some massive gap because what the statistics and what the season suggest is not only are they two different types of wide receivers, but at the exact same time, they were a hell of a lot closer in production than you could assume, right? You had 4 touchdowns. He had 6 touchdowns. I could promise you that if he played, some of those other 5 games, did not get injured, he probably would have added an additional 2, perhaps even 3. So this is what it is. All right. Now, expectations for Keon, right? My expectations are not going to change for this wide receiver. It's just not going to happen for me because I never thought that Keon Coleman was going to be a wide receiver number one, right? And I think that's one of the most annoying talking points from people is just like, oh my God, the Buffalo Bills. Oh my God, we need a wide receiver number one. I don't necessarily believe that's the case, especially when you look at the success from last year, right? The everybody eats mentality truly works, right? Like we had 8+ games, 30+ points, had scored the most points in the NFL while including playoffs. So, so the Bills' strategy is hands down, right? Working. And just look at both of the teams that made it to the AFC Championship last year. Not a single team had a receiver over 1,000 yards, right? Or they barely ended up cracking it. But expectations for Keon, and do I think that he has a breakout season? I do, right? In fact, I do think when it comes into it, this 57 target method is going to increase to about, I'd say like 20 or 30. So look at his targets to be at around 75, 80. Say that I was a gambling man, right? I think that it's reasonable to predict that he could double his touchdown production as well, since I think that we didn't utilize him enough in situations where we should have, right? Especially when it came into yards after the catch situations, contested catch balls by itself. I think this is very reasonable to assume that he could double this number going into 2025. I'd probably bet about 7 to 8 touchdowns, right in line with Khalil Shakir, if you were to ask me. And then same thing with yards, right? Like a solid 850 to 900 yard season. I could certainly see that because when it comes into it, this Buffalo Bills team, and say, for example, you ended up watching a video I released the other day where I ended up predicting the target distribution for the Buffalo Bills going into 2025. I think there's going to be some slight changes in where this ball is going to be distributed. Maybe I'll go ahead and I'll make a video about that like next week or over the weekend or something. But as long as Keon Coleman can play a full healthy season, I love and so the size that he put on, so the muscle, it sounds like his speed is improved. It sounds like he's quicker in and out of breaks. I think there's no excuse that we can't assume that this second-year wide receiver cannot see a massive uptick in not only receiving yards, but also in touchdowns, right? As long as he sticks at that 19.2 yards per reception, which I believe that he still will, I think the sky is the limit. Now, as far as candidates of who I think could be like the number one breakout player going into it, like there are 3 guys that really stand out to me. And I'm not sure if all 3 of them will break out, but I have 4. One is a deep sleeper. All right. One is Keon Coleman. Next is Cole Bishop, right at strong safety. Sleeper is going to be Javon Solomon for me, edge rusher last year, who I thought did very well with his limited opportunities. And then number 4, I have Ray Davis, because one can only assume that after his rookie season, he has earned his stripes in order to create some more, I suppose, rate of the opportunities for production. So that's my soapbox right there, folks. That is my soapbox. Now, right before we get into the Q&A segment, folks, again, with each and every single episode I yap and discuss the topic on hand, right, for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then afterwards, I revert to the live chat. If, for example, you have a question for me or a statement, please label them appropriately with a Q dash and or an S dash so I could easily pick out some questions and statements that go toward the show. And that way I can create a wonderful experience for anybody catching the replay of this episode and or listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So start lining up your questions, lining up your statements, folks. And right before we dive into that segment, I do need to go on ahead and give a giant shout out to William Mattar. Folks, if you were ever hurt in a car, you better call William Mattar, #1 car accident attorney in the state of New York. I would never wish a car accident on anybody, but the truth of the matter is some people just can't drive. And sometimes you find yourself on the receiving end of terrible driving and you come out with an injury. It's very important to find correct representation. And you are looking at the man himself, William Mattar. Phone number is on the screen. Show him some love in case you were ever in that unfortunate scenario. Let's get into the questions of the day, man. I love it. Let's go. We have MT Dueling has come in. Dan, everyone's getting hurt already. What do we do? So I'm assuming you're probably discussing about Joey Bosa, right? And not unless I missed something yesterday. I want to say that he was the only one that suffered any sort of injury. Let me know if somebody else got injured. I was unplugged yesterday for the most part, so I didn't know. Like with Joey Bosa, I don't necessarily think that comes to a surprise, right? Because he has a history of being injured. And really, our expectations for Bosa is, and so I'd be happy with 14 games. And ideally, and so if he does end up having to miss a little bit, I would much prefer that it's toward the beginning of the season and we have that production in the playoffs. If that man is just good from like week 12 all the way through our playoff run, I think it's a quality signing because what we need is production and quality depth play from our defense when it matters most. It sucks, but is what it is. Which players make the 53-man roster? Ooh, Davidson, White, Buchele, Gore Jr., Evans, Prather, Hamler, Virgil, Shavers, Chenault, Mike Edwards, Green, Vandemark, Clayton, Lunt. We have AJ Epinesa, Laug, Jackson, Codrington, and Couch. Carl, fantastic questions. And I got to tell you what, once we start getting closer to training camp, I'm probably going to do a way too early 53-man roster projection. I can tell you what, like just to give you a spoiler alert here, right out of all the names that you just listed, two guys make this roster based off of all of the players you just listed, which is probably not much of a surprise, right? So a quick spoiler. So I do think Laviska Shenault does make this team, but not necessarily for his wide receiver contribution. I think that he's a wonderful kick returner. He was top 5 last year, so I think he beats out Codrington. So I think Shenault actually becomes wide receiver number 6 or special team wide receiver, if you will. And then I think Vandemark makes the team as well. He was quality last year in depth. And then as far as AJ Epinesa, okay, I lied, not 2. So with AJ Epinesa, he could still potentially be on the trade block. And to be completely honest with you, it does depend on how some of these players play out. And if Bosa can't stay healthy, then I think Epinesa's job is probably going to be pretty safe. But wait, it's way too early. But I do promise I will be releasing a way too early 53-man roster projection here shortly. William Smith, and do you think we have what it takes to win the Super Bowl? And can we win it finally? So I'll tell you what, man, when it comes into roster, for sure. Yeah, man. But like, I think the biggest question surrounding this team is not so much coaching anymore. Like back in the 13-second season, I could 110% say that was on coaching. But this year with the roster that we've put together, including all of the fail safes that we put in the depth perspective, because like there was such a significant fall off from a starter down to our second string. I think we made the appropriate adjustments in closing that gap, on bringing in quality depth, on players that we can trust to fill in if somebody gets like hurt, especially on the top end from the defensive side of things. It's not so much whether or not that this roster has what it takes, but it has everything to do, if you were to ask me, on how our new training staff is going to limit injuries. Because this team, for the love of God, for the past couple of years, has not been lucky when it comes into putting up a reasonably healthy team. Like we typically limp into the divisional round and we limp into the AFC championship round in shambles, right? Like absolutely torn and hospital beds, the whole 9. So if we can stay healthy, I think there's nothing that can stop us. Nothing. But have to cross our fingers, right? And hope that this depth that we ended up investing so much into in free agency and then also in the draft, you're damn right, bro. Listen, like we're talking about a team that is second in win percentage for the past 6 years combined. And we are only second to the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Like on paper. And so us not winning, and so a Super Bowl is a Kansas City Chiefs thing. It's not a lack of quality. So that's me. We have DTN. I feel like people need to stop saying Bill should have selected Worthy instead of Coleman. I do think it's BS. Plus the 40-yard dash time doesn't always mean everything. It's wild because like when like you talk to people, and so especially like hell-bent Keon Coleman haters, like they will act like that there was a massive significant gap in production between Coleman and Worthy last year. There literally was not. Like literally was not. Like we're talking about 2 more touchdowns for Xavier Worthy and less than 100 more yards than Keon Coleman last year, right? And so the margin is so small. And then once you also include that Keon Coleman ended up missing, right? Like 4 games, and you could assume, or at least put into context what his average yards per game was, they probably would have been a hell of a lot closer. Or so I'd say nearly tied slash beaten. So so that's my take on the entire situation. And so as long as Keon Coleman can be a red zone guy for us, that contested catch guy, and we see like a 200 to 300 yard improvement in his receiving yards and maybe a couple of touchdowns added, I'm going to be a very, very happy guy. Spin. White, Vandemark, and Epinesa make this team. Vandemark. I miss Trey White. He's definitely making this team. He's definitely making this team. Smitty, what's up, man? How you doing? How you doing, brother? All right, we have James. And okay, you think that Frank Gore Jr. Is a practice squad candidate? Yeah. So barring some sort of miracle, right? Like say that James Cook and he decides to hold out, then maybe Frank Gore makes this team, right? But we'll see. We will see. Sebastian Zemo is coming. What would be a realistic trade for Curtis Samuel? We have 7 million. Save 7 million slash if we trade him. Sebastian, I don't think Curtis Samuel's going anywhere. Now, I don't, and so I could be wrong. I'm going to go ahead and double check on this. Curtis Samuel, spot track real fast. So we signed him to a 3-year, $24 million deal, right? And then when you ultimately end up looking at his contract, let's take a look and see what it would do to the Buffalo Bills cap space, right? So in 2025, great as you can see, like we have an out in 2026. So he's owed $6.9 million, 1.7 after this. His cap hit is at around 9 million, right? So say that we cut him right now. Say that we do a post, right? Like we could save about $7.3 million and a 2026 dead cap of 3.4. But here's my thing, like why it doesn't make sense. Like, why are we so hell-bent on going and trying to create like some money right now, right? Like free agency's already over. And like with all of the players that are still technically able to be like available, it's not really worth it. And so I also think that with Curtis Samuel's season last year, he showed quite a bit of promise. Like he looked very good toward the back half of the season and even during the playoffs. So I think the Bills are just going to go on ahead and they're going to chalk it up as he was playing through a turf toe injury and they're hoping for the best. You could do it, but then again, like you're splitting dead cap in 2 years. Yes, you save 7 million. And so I'd say immediately. And I'm not even sure if somebody would really be interested in going on ahead and sending Curtis Samuel off, right? And so, in my opinion, I do think that he is also a player that could potentially break out for this team as well. So I'm not entirely sure that Curtis Samuel is going to be on the trade block. It just wouldn't make sense for me. And do you think Hamlin makes the team? I hope not. LOL. We have Thomas Cook coming in, man. Dude. It's funny how much people hate Damar Hamlin. So I think that he's a good depth player, right? And so is he the best starter in the world? No. But do I think that he's as bad as everyone suggests that he is? No, not at all, right? So I'd say that he is a mid safety. And a mid safety is somebody that is quality to have as a depth player. Like he has familiarity on this roster. And so in my opinion, I have a feeling that the starting safety tandem is going to be Cole Bishop and Taylor Rapp. Although that both of them are technically strong safeties, maybe Derek Forrest has something to say about that. However, I think that Damar Hamlin is going to make this team, right? He's going to be a depth player. Who knows? Like maybe Cole Bishop ends up getting hurt or something. Let's go ahead and knock on wood. He's going to be the next man up for it. So with Damar Hamlin, he's not as bad as people like say that he is, but then again, like people that go a little above and beyond in defending him. And so I say, let's just call it how it is, right? Like he's a mid safety. He's mid, right? And a mid safety has a spot on a 53-man roster from a depth perspective. So, yes, I do think he's going to make this team. We have Jersey Rolls come in with a question. Did Von Miller sign with the Chiefs, and will that hurt the Bills with their matchups since he just left the Bills and knows their schemes? No. So I didn't see Von Miller sign with the Chiefs. I mean, not unless I'm missing something crazy right now. Let me go ahead and double check. So I did see his interview earlier. One more season before retirement. I'm a locker room guy through and through. Yeah, I haven't seen anything about him signing with the Kansas City Chiefs. Haven't seen anything. Last rumor I did see is that he's linked straight to a reunion to the Broncos. But yeah, yeah. No, I don't think that that would be much of a threat. And so I'm sure that he would provide insight, but and so the defensive coordinator, like their job is to make sure that they make like decent adjustments so that sort of thing, and so it doesn't happen. Like several people would come in and be like, "Oh my god, man." And so now the Miami Dolphins have Jordan Poyer as their safety. And so what are they going to do? And so is he going to tell them everything that like, and how did that work out, right? And how did that work out? We still ended up kicking that ass. Joe Rist sending Bills hate from Bradenton, Florida. What is up, man? Joe Rist, how's life? How's life, man? We have Big Papa Bill. We need to bring in Justin Simmons, and with all of our safeties are ass. So I'm going to tell you one thing. So there is a reason why Justin Simmons is not signed yet, right? So there's a reason. And Rapp is not terrible, and Bishop is not terrible, especially with what I'm assuming. And so it's going to be fine. And safeties, for the most part, guys, like I'm really not into paying like a big name safety right now in free agency. I'd much rather draft one because, like we have already realized, this league has not like really been an air raid attack type offense in the NFL. Like with QBs are stretching the field less and less and just going on ahead and like dumping off quick little slant passes and allowing their wide receivers to create yards after the catch. So having two strong safeties that really go on ahead and excel in downhill tackling, that's kind of the move nowadays. So I'm going to pass on Justin Simmons. He's on the wrong side of 30, and there is likely a reason why he is not playing. Dan, and can you answer the question I left you in Discord yesterday? Absolutely, Mike. I'm sorry about that. I am never on Discord, but I will check that out. Let me see. I got you, Mike. I got you, Mike. All right, we have Jesse is coming in. Love our receivers. I can't think of a team that has a total of five wide receivers that's better than ours. And the Chiefs could have been better with Jalen Royals, but I love our whole team. With Keon Coleman's hand/wrist injury, Curtis Samuel's turf toe shoulder rib injury, and Dalton Kincaid's knee injury hampered them last year. And they are all now healthy and will be a strength in 2025. Carl, I love, love, love the optimism. I really do. And that's a great way of looking at it. All right, sending much support for the Bills from Bills Mafia. Go Bills. Dorson, what's up, man? Dude, happy afternoon to you. And so I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I appreciate you rocking with us, man. I really do. And so I keep coming back to this comment on Carl, and he's pointing out some things that I feel like a lot of us have ignored. Like three players that I think a lot of us were assuming, so we're going to have quality seasons in 2024. They ended up getting hurt, right? We still ended up scoring a shit ton of points, which is ideal. But just imagine if all of Keon Coleman and Curtis Samuel and Kincaid stay healthy all year. Like, it's growing more and more difficult to predict what this target distribution is going to look like the more and more that I think about it. And I absolutely love it. We have Jon Snow has come in. Keon is going to be an end zone weapon. Randy Keon Moss. Wow. Wow, dude. Wow, man. Wow. A Randy Moss-esque type wide receiver is what Jon Snow is out here assuming that he is going to be. That is absolutely insane. Folks, 175 of you total in here. All right, 73 on X, 91 on YouTube, 1 on Twitch, 11 on Facebook. Guys, listen, if you're enjoying the show, please do me a favor. Smash that like button. It's the easiest way to show love over here. And then also subscribe to the channel as well. I want to say that we are almost damn near close to 43,000 subscribers. Let me double check here. All right. We were at 42,985, almost at 43. So say, for example, you have not subscribed, certainly go on ahead and lock in, baby. I came to the mindset with a new offensive scheme that we won't have a wide receiver who puts up Diggs receiving numbers. Yeah. And look, so here's the deal, right? So when it comes into like numbers, and so the only numbers that matter to me, and so is the box score. And as long as those numbers are higher than our opponent, that's all that matters to me, right? That is all that matters to me. Miss me with the, oh my God, we don't have an 1,000-yard wide receiver. No. And the only thing that matters to me, and the only numbers that matter to me, is that we have a higher one than each and every single opponent that we play. And in order to save my blood pressure as well, I would like to have a couple of easy street games like last year when we were blowing the lids off of some teams, right? Like those are always good. I hate heart attack games. You know what I mean? Sup, Dad? Had an amazing prom yesterday and the Knicks one. Hope you have a good weekend. Carvin, man, listen. So I really hope and that you enjoyed your prom and go Knicks. That's awesome. I'm very happy for all the Knicks fans in the chat. Smitty, if Keon Coleman can be more consistent Gabe Davis, I am happy. I totally agree. Like, that's how I feel like we need to start looking at Keon Coleman. Can he be a better Gabe Davis? And last year, I would suggest he showed signs that he certainly has the ability to be. Bills Mafia Madness, will Keon be allowed to wear 2 mouth guards this year? I think he was a lot better when he could wear 2. I mean, hey, don't fix what's not broken. Don't fix what's not broken. Palmer and Moore thrive in Buffalo. We've seen the pattern before. Talented guys getting Josh and becoming great. Like Smoke Brown, right? Like with John Brown was a perfect. Okay, we have Keon Coleman 1,000-yard breakout season incoming. And so I really don't care about 1,000. And so I do want to see him utilized quite a bit right in the red zone. Give me 7 to 8 touchdowns from Keon next year, and I'm going to be a happy dude. Michael Bell Jr., what's up, fellow Mafians? Michael Bell, we are doing wonderful, my friend. I have a dentist appointment in like a half hour. I hate the dentist, but I am going, all right? And have to put oral health at a utmost level, my friend. We have Jay Anthony. You forgot the dark ages already, and with every game was a heart attack game. It was. And you know what? I would prefer not to ever go back there. Gabe Davis can't run the right route, and he can only run go routes. Oh, man. And Coleman, and so is about to take the league by storm. Mark my words. I'm seeing so much positivity in the chat, and I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. Does Khalil reach 1,000 yards this season? And so if anybody reaches 1,000 yards, I think it's going to be Khalil Shakir. And so if anybody does, I just have a gut feeling, again, it's really going to be distributed evenly. Like right across the board. So, but if anybody does break 1,000, it's going to be Khalil Shakir. And so I think 8 touchdowns for Keon is more important than 1,000 yards just to prove he could be a big-time red zone target. 110%. What does your dentist say about Zin? I'm going to have to let you know about that, all right? I'm going to have to let you know about the Zin, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and load one in and see what they say and see if they yell at me about packing Zinachinos. And so I could imagine, and they probably wouldn't have the best feedback, all right? And I'll probably get yelled at a little bit, but we'll see. And so I want Forrest and Rapp as my starting safety. In your opinion, who would you like as your starting safety? So I feel like I want to see how training camp rolls around, right? Like, I'm very optimistic about Forrest. He played very well in 2022, I believe it was. And then he was phased out from the new regime from Dan Quinn. But look, like say that Bishop and Rapp, and so they go out there and they just look great as far as chemistry is concerned. I'm fine with it. But Rapp certainly is a lock, and that free safety position is going to be up in the air. And do you think Keon building muscle mass is good for him? I felt one of his weaknesses last year was his speed. From what I understand, he sounds like he's been so much faster right in camp. Hot take. Kincaid leads all tight ends in receiving yards. My God. And someone says 4 cavities. 4 cavities? Bro, come on, man. Listen. And so I got the Sonicare toothbrush, bro. And so I have the Sonicare toothbrush, my friend. Forrest and Bishop starting safeties. Man, my guy over here, dude, come on, man. That's some bad juju right there, bro. That's some bad juju. He's coming here. He's trying to wish cavities on my mouthpiece, man. I don't like that. And so I think Forrest could have a role like Rapp had 2 years ago when we still had Hyde and Poyer. I mean, look, say that it works out, it does. But like, and so when it comes into safety position, I'm never so much concerned about it, but that's me. But all right, folks, short little episode today. Like I said, I need to hightail it over to the dentist. Wish me luck. I sincerely hope that this fool over here said that I'm going to have 4 cavities is wrong. All right. Damn. And yeah, so I will see you later for Fourth and Forever. and maybe a little later this afternoon. Like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't had an opportunity of doing so already. Shout out William Matar, and I will see you guys a bit later today. Peace.